All right. Good morning, everybody. So this is a data quality training. We're going to we're going to cover. So this is a this is a virtual meeting. We'd ask you to please stay muted unless you have a question, in which case feel free to unmute yourself. Also, this training is being recorded so that we can save it and upload it to the LMS. And if you would like to have it for yourself or for somebody else at your agency, you can send an email to the help desk to ask for it to be added to the LMS for you or for that staff member. So again, you can unmute yourself to ask your question, or you can type any questions into the chat. And we're going to get started. So what we're going to cover today is what is good data quality. So good data quality is good entering information into demographics on the client profile and good information into program enrollments. And then we're going to have cover some of the reports in the report library, and some of you will have access to a couple of data quality dashboards in data analysis. And Maria is going to get us started with talking about what good data quality looks like.
Good morning, everyone. So this is your screen when you go to create a new client. But even before we get to the screen, one of the things that we stress for good data quality is to make sure that you have already searched for your client, to make sure that they're not already in the system. One of the things that we want to prevent and is duplicate clients, duplicate profiles within the system, which I'm sure you guys have seen before. And if you ever do come across them, go ahead and send them to the help desk. Right now, we can't merge people. We can't merge clients because we're still having everything be merged over from Service Point. But we are keeping track of those. So if you do send them, or if you do see them, go ahead and send them to the help desk, because we are tracking them. So just make sure that when you guys are adding a new client, that you're completing all the demographic information. So that means, their last name, their date of birth, the quality of the date of birth, whether or not it's full or partial. One of the things that you want to minimize, and this is no different from when we were in Service Point, is try to have as much information as possible from the client and try to minimize the responses of data not collected or client doesn't know or client refused. We know that, sometimes it's unavoidable. The clients either are brand spanking new clients, they don't trust us. But, throughout the time, if you've been working with them for quite an amount of time, that relationship develops. They'll trust you more. Or if they're working with a different case manager and they've been working with them longer, maybe it's a good idea to reach out to that case manager to also try and get that information so it can be accurate within the system. Another thing, since we're moving from Service Point into Clarity, is using aliases. So nicknames, we've had clients that have used their nicknames instead of their actual names or legal names, and that's what they're known for. So you want to make sure that you enter those aliases into their profile as well. That way it's just easier for anyone who knows them by that second name. They can be searched through within the system. So if we go to the next page, so this is actually when you enroll them into your program. So now this is the screen that you guys will see. It's not any different from when we were in Service Point. You want to make sure that you guys are answering all of these data specific, program specific elements. You also want to make sure that you're entering this for each member of the household. So not just the head of household. If you're working with families, if it's a minor, even if it's a newborn baby, you want to make sure that this information is filled out correctly. The homeless history should also reflect the client's current chronic homeless status. So you wanna make sure you update that as it is when the client's coming into your program. One of the things to also watch out for is to update your disability if it needs to. So one of the things that is different now is we're going to step away from doing interim updates. It's even a different vocabulary now, but we'll get to that slide eventually. But when you're updating, if your client now has a disability and they didn't have the disability entering once they entered your program, you want to go back to your entry and you want to update that disability in the entry once they started your program. So that's, I just wanted to point that out and make sure that you guys go back to your entry and update disability in your program start date and not in one of the assessments, because it's a totally different workflow now. So if we go to the next slide, the housing move-in date. So you guys will only be seeing housing move-in dates in the rapid rehousing, in your PSH programs or other PH programs. So this is the only way that we'll be able to identify whether or not the client is housed. So the housing move-in date should be recorded in the project entry screen. If the client spends time in a housing search, you would have to go back into the project start date and enter in the move-in date for a later time, even if it's not the same date as your project start date. If that doesn't make sense, go ahead and enter it into the chat, or any questions into the chat, or unmute yourselves. So if your project start date is today, but your client isn't moving in until next week, you would have to come back next week and enter in that housing move-in date under that same program start date. That being said, the next bullet B is the housing move-in date has to be on or after the project start date. So it can't be before. And then the next one is you only have to have one housing move-in date per enrollment. So if a client relocates during the time that they're housed, that doesn't mean that you go back and exit them, or that you have to clear out the housing move-in date and put in a new one. Unless they're returning back to homelessness, that's when they're considered no longer to be housed. But you're not going back and you're not exiting them and then reopening them, because technically they're still housed underneath your program, even if they're moving from units. I don't see any questions, so I'm hoping that's clear. I see Adam nodding his head, so I'm good. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
I had a question on the previous slide on the
Sure.
aliases. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Catherine from Pawtucket Housing. I'm just coming across some clients that are transgendered.
Okay.
Per HUD, we have to go by what their social security number says, social security card says, but they want to go by a different name. When I search the person with his legal name, if you will, he came out, but as he was in a program. But then he brought me a letter with a different name, and he said that he was in the program. So I'm just confused on that matter.
Yeah. So that's a great question. So for clients who, especially transgender clients who might have what they might call a dead name, I would actually say you should put their preferred name into their first and last name, and then I would, in the alias, actually put in their dead name and say that this is a dead name. Please do not address this client as this dead name because they prefer a different name. And same with gender. The gender that's in there should be their identified gender. It should not be their legal gender if they haven't kind of gone through all of the process of changing it legally on their ID. Does that make sense?
Yes, so I think this client has two HMIS numbers, or maybe in the
That's-
system twice.
Yep,
With
that's
his,
very possible.
with, I'm sorry, with her preferred name and then with his legal name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can send us that those two ID numbers as a help desk ticket. We can't merge them quite yet, but we will be able to. And like I said, we would, in those cases, we would put their dead name in the alias and the old client ID number, and mark that this is this is a transgender client's dead name. Please don't
Yes.
speak to the client this way, but it's still on their legal documents.
All right, fair enough. Thank you.
That was a great question.
Yes, that's a fantastic question.
One more.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so the enrollment information. So one of the things, as you guys have probably already seen, even if you're not live, you have access to the training site. So one of the great things about Clarity is that there's conditional formatting. So when you guys, so before in Service Point, you'd have to fill out all the no's and all that. So if it was a no, you still have to fill out the information. There are certain areas within the enrollment that if you hit no, the rest of the information disappears. And you'll see that throughout either the enrollment or other assessments. So what hasn't changed is that you still have to complete that the original question, whether if they have income, non-cash benefits, health insurance, and instead of a drop down, it's literally just toggling it over. When you do toggle it on, a line does appear, and then you have to manually enter in the amount. So just be aware of those fields that do have, if you click a yes, something will show up. If you hit no, or if you toggle it on or toggle it off, it'll either something will appear or it will disappear. So just keep that in mind when you're going ahead and doing that enrollment. If we go to the next one, thank you. So these are your assessments within your program. So annual assessments or status assessments they're still going to be looking the same. It's the same information, I should say. Annual assessments are required. So one of the things to keep in mind is that if you put a housing move-in date, or if you increase income or any increased income into a status assessment, it's not going to be counted for HUD. So your status assessments are not used in APRs or CAPRs. So any of that change, you want to make sure it's done, your housing move-in date, like we said before, you want to make sure it's updated on your project start date, and any increased income should be done whether it's in the project start date or the exit date, right before you exit them out of your program.
Or the annual. So for housing projects, typically it will be the annual assessment is how when clients will show that they have an increased income.
So exits. This is when you would exit the screen for exiting your clients from your program. Again, it's nothing new. You want to just go ahead and choose the appropriate destination for where your client is headed to. Again, the disabilities, income, health insurance, and benefits, they're going to be coming in from the latest assessment that was recorded. So that information is being pulled forward. Again, if there is an increase of income, you want to go ahead and you want to make sure you update that income. Also, if you accidentally exit a client that shouldn't have been exited, all you have to do is go back and just delete that exit date. There's no need to re-enter them. You just have to go back and exit them. One of the things that I just realized we didn't include in this is household members. When you're adding a household, you want to make sure you add everyone, not just the household, not just the head of household. And when you're exiting a family or a couple from your program, you want to make sure you do all of them, not just the head of household. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Yes, I have another question. Sorry. On the move out, if the person moves out, I'm a housing provider. They get evicted and they go back to homelessness. Would that be an error finding again? Is there an option for back to homelessness, or
Yes.
or not known? I'm sorry, not known where.
Yeah, so you want to try to get the best information that you can out of the clients. I mean, I think a lot of times when if unfortunately folks are, you know, evicted from the
Housing.
your housing, you know, you should, you know, just try to see if you know kind of where they're going. I think in your case, a lot of times people will be the appropriate destination will probably be, you know, staying with they might be going hopefully to more of a doubled up situation, rather than back to shelter. You know, if you should actually, with coordinated entry, be able to see if folks are actually returning directly to shelter. It's more, you know, in cases like your programs, it's I think more often that folks kind of can double up, at least for some period of time when they're evicted, because usually there's folks don't go directly from housing court to a homeless shelter actually. Right. But I think with coordinated entry, you'll be able to and the number of, you know, shelter beds that are hopefully going to be available, you'll be able to see if those clients are actually returning to shelter or if they might have found somewhere to stay in for the meantime.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? All right, so we'll move on to talk about reports for data quality. So all reports for data quality, you'll use the launch pad, which looks like the little waffle in the upper right-hand corner, and go to reports. There's 3 sections in that reports area. There's the report library, which everybody has access to, and that's where APRs and CAPERs and HUD data quality reports and program-based reports live. And then next to it are these 2 tabs that are Explorer and Data Analysis. And those are limited by access rules. So not so many of you who are here today do have access to those 2 things, but not everybody does. Those give access to the embedded custom reporting tool in Clarity, which is named Looker. So those, and we'll cover a couple of those, the data analysis sections. We're not going to cover Explorer today because that's how you build custom reports. So in the report library, there are some different reports. There's some different sections here that are useful. Agency management includes reports on staff. So if you want to look at what kind of clients different staff have created, that's where you can go. There's a report in there that you can go to, but more often you'll be going to the HUD reports or the program-based reports, where more of the reports that have data quality elements live. And in particular, the HUD report has the HUD X225 data quality report. That's the HUD defined data quality report that includes most of the things that HUD cares about and that are used for our reporting to HUD as a system. So when you launch a report, it will go into the report queue, and when it's ready, it'll bring a pop-up, or it will show as it will show as completed in the report queue. But we're going to talk about HUD reports and program-based reports right here. And so the main report for data quality is this HUD X225 data quality report. But you can also, for checking data quality and in particular things like, are all of the income amounts recorded correctly in your program, you can also just run the annual performance report or ESG caper for the program and see kind of what the overall outcomes are and data quality. That will also work. So when you run any report from the report library, it'll come up with a pretty straightforward set of filters to select. So the COC, it doesn't matter which COC limitation, which COC you choose, because we only have the Rhode Island COC selectable there. And so you just have to select it. And then you can choose all program types or a particular program type if you are at a bigger agency. And then status, you can include programs that are just active or all of the programs that have ever been in your agency. And then that'll produce the list of programs that you can choose from. There might be only one there might be multiple. You can run this report on all programs. You can select one program, or you can select a few programs there. You can run this report for any date range. And then usually for this report, I would recommend running it as a regular report as a web page with web page drill downs. And that will be the easiest way for you to see which records need to be fixed and to be able to go right in and fix them or get the link to send to a case manager to fix the data quality on some particular item. Oh, and when you run it, it'll go into your report queue and it'll pop up when it's done. Oops. Okay. So the HUD data quality report will show all of the HUD data quality items so that we've been talking about: name, social security number, date of birth, ethnicity, and it will also show all of the program data elements further down in it. You want, basically, the universal rule of thumb is that all items want to have that error rate below 5%. So, and any errors, you can just click on any of the issues in order to drill down and see what's going on there. One point is that in Service Point, a lot of records had a name data quality that was left blank, but Service Point actually didn't tell anybody, their reports didn't work correctly, so those didn't show up as data quality issues in Service Point, but when they migrated over, they came over as approximate name. But that if you see kind of data quality in issues in name, that's because of that issue with Service Point not ever flagging records that had missing element for name data quality. And when you click on any particular number, you will get a drill down of all of the clients who have that particular error. So it might be those who are it might be those who are have that name data quality as approximate. It might be that they have missing disabling condition. It might be any of the program specific data elements. It might be that their chronic homeless status can't be calculated because of how the questions are answered in the homeless history. And so it'll give you all of the information in that result in that data quality error when you click on it. And it will pull up the unique identifiers and names of all of the clients. And these unique identifiers, they're anonymous, so you can copy and paste it into the search to go to the client profile to fix it, or you can paste it into a email to a case manager so that they can go to those clients and fix those data quality errors if you want to point other people to fix them. So that's the HUD data quality report. The other good reports are mostly in the program-based reports. And so the program roster, that's a good one because that will show who the assigned staff and how many notes, assessments, and services are recorded for the clients. So if you have a program, it's what's kind of universally true is that the staff who are entering more notes have better data quality. So this is really a good way to check to make sure that everybody is all of the clients are getting the appropriate case management and services recorded for any given period. And then the other one is the program is the general 220 program details report, and that will give all of the information that was put in for the program in the entry, in the annual assessments, and in the exits. And so that's really what the background data is that will get used in an APR or a CAPR. And so it includes all of the information you'd need to be able to validate the housing move-in dates are correct, and that the chronic homeless status of all of the clients in the program is correct. And that one in particular produces an Excel file that will download when you click on it. You do need to be careful with that Excel file because it does include a lot of PII and private information, so that just be careful with the actual file when you download it. But it's really good for diagnosing chronic homeless status. So if you have a permanent supportive housing program, that everybody who should be counted as chronic is, and also with housing move-in date. So you can compare the housing move-in date, which is in column AB, to the enrollment start date and exit date to make sure that it's between the two, and hopefully it's right near the entry date into the program for all housing programs. Does anybody have any questions about those reports? Any of those out of the report library?
Tucker, this is Diane Vendetti from Better Lives.
Mm-hmm.
On the drill down to the detail, does that give you the assigned staff person?
Yes. Yes. So the program details also has assigned staff in it.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Adam from House Hope, just remember you have to put the staff. We're fine. Like I said, we just finished ours, but the clients are not assigned to staff unless you do it yourself.
Right. Yeah. So all of the program enrollments that were migrated over from Service Point were all assigned to an admin staff for now. And so, but any new enrollments will be assigned to whichever staff creates those enrollments. That's how it works. But it didn't carry over who did that in Service Point. So you'll have to assign staff for the migrated program enrollment.
Since we're on that subject, I'm also just going to add, if you don't see a case manager listed under your program, It's because they're not live yet. So as soon as all of the staff members are live in Clarity, you will be able to assign them to whoever they need to be assigned to, clients. Yeah.
Yep, and all of the case managers who are live can assign all of their clients to themselves. It's pretty straightforward if they're going in to record case notes or services within their program enrollment. It's in the same place. Okay, any other questions on the report library before we move on to some of the couple of dashboards? Okay, so the data analysis piece, you need to have a type of license that gives you access to it, to embedded looker access, and that's true of both data analysis and Explorer. Those two are linked. They're in the same sort of the same license and access role type. So not all of you will have access to this, but I think most of you who are on do have access. And so the data analysis part is where custom reports are created. The built-in reports, those are dashboards that the BitFocus team has developed for general use for everybody using Clarity. The Rhode Island Clarity system reports are where the reports that our team builds will live and make, and when we make custom reports available across the system to everybody, they will be in that section. And then there will be a section for agency reports. So Crossroads, Pawtucket Housing, DCA, anytime, or House of Hope, any of you. So if any of you create and save a look in Explore, then it will be saved in your agency report section. So the built-in reports, these are the ones that are kind of currently available. These are the ones that BitFocus has built for everybody, and the data quality dashboard is a fantastic report. It works. It's even better than the HUD report out of the report library. And the key point is that anytime you're doing anything in data analysis, rather than generally, it will display all of the information at your agency. But it might also have some filters by program, but you won't have to generally set all of the filters in order to run it like you do for reports out of the report library. And it will generally just limit the data that you can see based on your to your agency. And you get there from the data analysis section. So the data quality dashboard shows all of the error counts by data element. And so you can see for name and data quality, those are the ones that have data issues and they're the same. And that's because the name data quality field is what's determining the name error rate there. So those are the same. So you'll see all of them in terms of, those are all of the error counts by the demographic fields. And then there'll be the universal data elements errors on the project enrollment screen. It'll show you all of the annual assessment errors, so ones that are past due in your agency, or that were completed outside of the 30 days around the client's anniversary in the program. And if you click on any of these numbers, it will pull up it will pull up a drill down where you can it'll take you to either the profile screen, or you can click on the enrollment ID of the enrollment that has an error for project enrollment errors. There's also one report so far in the Rhode Island system reports that we've built, and that is one that's showing all of the exit destinations. So obviously we're most concerned about destinations of don't know or data not collected. And we want to kind of, the goal is to bring those error rates down, but you also want to be careful of clients who are leaving the program to the same destination that the program they're leaving was. So if clients leave an emergency shelter for emergency shelter, were they really just moving from one emergency shelter to another? Or was that kind of something that got cascaded over in service point from when they went from outreach to shelter when they came into the shelter, and it just got copied forward, because we don't want that to be showing up as the case when they might have gone to a better destination, hopefully. And it's also very important for rapid rehousing. When folks leave rapid rehousing, they typically are not transferring from one rapid rehousing program to another. So they should not be leaving rapid rehousing for rapid rehousing generally. They should be leaving to housing with some other subsidy, or without an ongoing subsidy. And it's pretty, I anticipate that there will be more reports that are related to data quality that will show up in this Rhode Island Clarity System report section. When you guys run this report, it will not be quite so busy a chart. This is because when I run it, I can see the entire system. But when you run it, it will just be on your agency, so it won't be quite so busy. But you can click on it, click on a particular number. So click on no exit interview completed, and it will show you all of the personal IDs and enrollment IDs, and either one of those will be a link to the personal ID will be a link to the client profile, and the enrollment ID will be a link to the program, to go into the program where that exit was taken, to be able to update it. All right, and this kind of setup where it shows you the personal ID and the enrollment ID and where the program name. This is kind of the general way that the drill downs look from dashboard. Does anybody have any questions about that's the end of our training? So if anybody has any questions about any of these data quality pieces, now is the time. One other point we've run into so far is for updating social security numbers, those are hidden. So some of them might have been incomplete, and Clarity, when you are updating a profile, insists that you have all a 9-digit social security number, even if some of them are zeros, to mark that you don't have that information. So you might have to go click through a warning box to be able to update an incomplete social security number for a client. And that warning box is just saying that anytime that a social security number is viewed, a complete social security number is viewed in the system, it's flagged so that you can, because that's something that Clarity automatically will be able to audit is anytime a social security number is viewed or edited. But you should do it if there's a partial social security number for a client. You should definitely go through that warning label and update a social security number to complete it. Don't be too scared of that box to not update data quality that needs to get updated.
Another thing that I think would also be a good recommendation from our team is running those data quality reports on a regular basis. That way, for when a big report is due, there's no emergency to fix however many records you guys have been working for the past year or whatever the reporting period is. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be with it, and it'll be easier to recognize how to go back into the system and fix those data quality errors.
All right. If there's nothing else, we can give you back the last 15 minutes of this hour. We went pretty much exactly 45 minutes. All right. Thanks, everybody.